shit just doesn't spontaneously combust. When they do that, they feel like they're just burning down abandoned buildings, not realizing that they're burning down whole legacy.
The history of Atlanta is vanishing all around us. Throughout history, Black folks have come together to pool resources, to empower and sustain their communities. Our Black Wall Streets, our places of worship, and our HBCUs came from the collective work of Black communities.
Show the Black people how to pool our wealth and set up something of our own.
Inspiration from our ancestors moves from motivation to action. We have the opportunity to preserve a space for Black-owned businesses in our vanishing communities. We have the opportunity to ensure that our culture exists in the future. When the great-great-grandchildren look back at this time in history, they will see the faces of Black folks and the community who came together to save ourselves. We will no longer stand in the shadows of displacement and allow it to define us. We are Black history in the making. We will tell our own stories in a place that connects culture, community, and legacy. We are the Connect.
Thank you, community, for joining us tonight for session 2 of Open for Good Business. I am Kiyomi Rollins. I will be your host this evening. I am one of the co-founders of the Connect Cooperative, a beautiful new space over in Southwest Atlanta, which is practicing some community wealth building by launching a cooperative in June. Tonight, we are so excited to have Jason Hudgins join us again. If you all attended our last session that we had last fall from our Hustle and Grow series, Jason definitely brought it. We wanted to take some time tonight to be able to really explore how can Black-owned businesses create a community-centered ecosystem with socially driven narratives that includes excellent customer service. Jason, welcome. Jason, you are the Chief Strategist of North Star Consultant. Tell the people what that means.
North Star is really an idea that came from the fact that I have worked in corporate America for over 10 years as a chief strategist for a major multinational brand. And what I wanted to do was bring that knowledge back to my community. What I saw was that Black-owned businesses did not have access to the same information and the same resources that I was giving, my company for free. And this was my opportunity to do so. And the company is named, North Star is named after my grandfather, who was my personal North Star. And the idea is that North Star is the one star in the sky that does not move. It is constant, and you can build off of that idea. And so that's what happens with shipping. We want to do the same thing with business. We want to build off of something that is secure and that's going to lead us in the right direction.
Nice. So here we are a year later, Jason, right? The
A year
pandemic,
later.
the panoramic or the pandemic jumped off literally this time last year is when it kind of became real to us as a community and as business owners. And so we are experiencing a lot of those same struggles from a year ago are still present today. I shared that statistic in last week's session that I believe the statistic is out that Black-owned businesses are closing at a higher rate than some of our white counterparts. But one of the things that I, can share that, is some really great news here in our own community of Westview and West End, we still see a lot of our businesses that are still surviving, thriving, and existing. Still holding on. So I think that's a testament to just the resilience of our community. But we wanted to make sure that at the Connect that we could just share some additional tools a year later, with COVID still being here. How can we continue to pivot? How can we continue to exist and how can we continue to look at some successful strategies. But also wanted to kind of highlight tonight a lot of our businesses that are social impact brands that are making a difference, that are mission driven. How do you tell that narrative? How do you make sure that that culture is actually presented? And then how does your team, the members of your space, actually do that by following the mission and then also making sure that that customer service matches that. For a lot of Black-owned businesses, there's that myth that there's some opportunities around Black-owned businesses, and so we wanted to make sure that we were bringing you on tonight to be able to share.
Kiyomi, I cannot hear you.
Jason, can you hear me? I don't think you
I
hear
can
me.
hear you now. There you are.
Okay. So I don't think I can hear Jason. So I'm gonna keep on talking. So Jason, what I was saying was, a year later, y'all, and we're still having glitches and things. And so yeah, so I wanted to make sure, and then I can't hear Jason too, by the way. So we just wanted to be able to share as we're going through tonight. If you're in the audience in the comments, we want you to be able to engage, leave questions. I will be reading those off as Jason is making his presentation and make sure that they are heard and they are viewed. Also, while you're watching this, please share this on your page so that while people are tuning in for wherever they're tuning in, that they'll be able to see this. Hey, Ronnie. Ronnie is in. Everyone enjoyed Ronnie's presentation from last week. A little bit of housekeeping. Make sure you head over to North Star Consulting to be able to follow Jason's page. Hopefully he's taking some new clients, and he'll be able to take some new clients on. And so, Jason, how would you like tonight's flow to be able to go?
Kiyomi, I think very similar to what we did last week. To have the conversation, I have some slides that I do want to share and some information
Sure.
because I want to make sure that the audience leaves with some very practical ideas about what they can do with their businesses. But at the end of the day, I'm a trainer, and so if something pops up in the chat, I don't mind having the conversation because at the end of the day, it's for the clients and it's for who's watching.
Sure, certainly, certainly, certainly. Well, let's just go ahead and just jump on in.
Let's jump on it. I mean, the truth is, and Kiyomi, you hit it, that we are a year into this. And if we look back at where we were a year ago and the conversation that you and I were having at Hustle and Grow, if businesses and business owners followed some of that very practical advice about building a digital footprint, you should be set up right now. It doesn't mean that you haven't faced some things that are really tough. The pandemic is taking out businesses, and as Kiyomi said, Black-owned businesses specifically. A lot of that has to do with preparation and how we're connected in. I love the question that you put up of how can we build an ecosystem? It's not just about building your business, but what the ecosystem looks like around your business so that you have the proper support. And so, Mark, if we'll go to the next slide, I want to share with you a poll. And if you were paying attention last week, let's see who was paying attention with Ronnie. According to Nielsen, what is the buying power of the Black community in dollars? Is it A, 536 million, B, 589 billion, C, 824 billion, or D, 1.4 trillion? Give us some thoughts there in the comment section. What do you guys think? A, B, C, or D, guys?
Your comments. I just want to shout out Ronnie shared that, hey, Jason, he knows that you're about to drop some deep knowledge, but on a more superficial tip, your beard game is tight.
Shout out
Miss
to
Mary.
Mark and Kiyomi from the Good Hair Shop. They are sponsoring this beard, making it sure it's lustrous and silky.
Nice. So Miss Mary Battle Broxton, she left the comment that the answer is D.
And that is the correct answer. Shout out to
Ronnie
Mary.
says D.
She's part of Mary's part of my cohort from Howard University when I got my MBA. And so shout out to Ty and Mary and the team that's showing up there. And the answer is D. Mark, if you'll go to the next slide, I want to lay this out because the Black community in 2019, according to Nielsen, the buying power was 1.4 trillion. it is expected by 2024 that that share is going to grow to 1.8 trillion. And I think we get really comfortable throwing out, big numbers like 1.4, 1.8 trillion and the number of zeros behind it. Mark, if you give me the next slide, I want to give this some context because a 1.4 trillion means that the Black community in America, this is not the diaspora, this is just America, has the buying power equal to the economy of the country of Australia. Um,
Wow.
we eclipse countries like Spain and Mexico and Indonesia with our buying power. And so this speaks to the idea that your business should not be relegated to your friend group, to your community. If you are building in the proper way and building an ecosystem, you should be able to tap into a country sized ecosystem for your business. Mark, if you give me the next slide, that $1.8 trillion number, that's going to put us on the level and make us the 10th largest economy on earth by 2024, which means we're going to eclipse economies like South Korea and Russia and Canada. We literally are going to be one of the G7 countries just by buying power. And when we look at what is the GDP that comes out of the community, you got to think beyond your current market. There's an adage that says that a goldfish will only grow to the size of the bowl that you put it in. The same is the truth about your business. If you only relegate your business to, in my case, Southwest Atlanta, or just to Georgia, or just to our community, it's only going to grow so big. There's only so much money there. But if we expand beyond that, our business can grow to some really great heights outside of that. The next slide, because we tend to talk through the idea of business through the lens of selling a product. I want to broaden this out because if we're going to tap into that $1.4 trillion now and $1.8 trillion in the future, you've got to look through the idea of branding. And what branding is, it is the art and the science of influencing the perception about a product, a service, or an organization. You cannot grow your business if you are not influencing how people see you. You have to control the narrative. Business is about a singular product or a singular service. A brand is going to give you multiple streams of income, multiple avenues that you can go down in order to build and put your name out there, in order to build your influence in your community and in this world. Now, for North Star, brand is an acronym, and I have a couple more slides I want to show you here that it really speaks to the experience that you want to sell. So, if we go to the B of branding, Mark, the B of branding stands for the blueprint. When you're building your business, I want you to think about what is the master plan for your customer service experience. Customer service, guys, is an end-to-end experience. It begins at awareness of your business and goes all the way until the customer has bought something and you're following up with them in the future. The question is, what is the feeling that you want your guests to have coming out of that experience? This speaks to the hallmarks that you have. It speaks to the feeling. And let me give you an example. If you've ever, all of us, most of us here in Atlanta have been to the Good Hair Shop. If you come in, the very first thing that Mark and Kiyomi are going to do is they're going to greet you. Hey, beautiful, Kiyomi. Or hey, king or
Yep.
queen. That's what Mark is going to say. They're going to greet you. They're going to bring you in and ask you, what are you looking for? Why are you here? They're getting a feel for you. And if you even know why you're there, and then based on your answer, then they're going to take you through the experience. That's the idea here. They have a blueprint, whether they've written that down or not. That's the blueprint for how they walk you through their business. One of the key mistakes that business owners make is just wanting to sell a product and make some money. Because at the end of the day, what that means is that nothing separates you from the competition. And during periods like we're in now with a pandemic, a panorama, whatever you want to call it, uh, what it creates is that when Amazon has a similar product to what you're selling, then I will go to Amazon because you haven't given me any reason that differentiates you from the competition that's out there. If we
I
look
want to
at the,
jump in, Jason. Excuse me.
Go
Miss
ahead.
Mary, Miss Mary just said, returning customers are where the money resides.
100%. And Mary, I'm going to hit that up because the truth is, if you can't build loyalty with your brand, if you can't build loyalty with your business, you are on the road to failure. It is hard to find a new customer. The statistics say it's 5 times as hard to find a new customer than to just retain an existing customer that you already have. The money resides right there with your current customer, which means that
Yeah.
that's where that customer service end comes in. You have to treat them right so that they'll come back to you. What's up, Latricia? That's another member, one of my cohorts out there. HU is showing up strong for a brother tonight. Mark, if we go
We'll
to the
let it
next,
slide. Look, we'll let it slide. It's all HBCU love. It's all HBCU love.
okay, hater, Kiyomi, we've had this conversation. The idea that I want to take with you guys, and if we'll go to the next slide, is I want you to step away from the idea of good service versus bad service. Uh, Good service is subjective. What's good service to me may be bad service to Kiyomi.
Woo, that's a good
And
one,
so,
Jason. That's a really
it,
good one.
yeah, it's subjective because everyone has their own idea of what good service looks like. There are people in this world who love Starbucks coffee. There are people who hate Starbucks coffee. It is
Yeah.
all subjective and it all lives on what my personal view is. If you step away from good service versus bad service, Kiyomi, and we go to the idea of on brand service versus off brand service, on brand says that my brand has a blueprint, there's a master plan for it, and we stick to this no matter what. You and Mark are unapologetically black with the connect. Y'all stick to
Okay.
that in every arena.
Yes.
And anything that comes along, what that blueprint then does is it also helps you make business decisions in the future. That when you're made offers in the future, or someone says, "Hey, I want to partner with you," if they don't match your blueprint, then you, with peace, let them go by. So that's the idea. A brand is intentional, and you want to stay on brand, focus in on the customer service aspect. Let me give you one of my key principles. If we'll go to the next slide. And one of my key North Star principles is if you want to be great, you have to be bad. And what that means is I want you to choose and make a decision about what your brand is about and hold on to it. Walmart is good at low prices. They're bad at customer service. They know they're bad at customer service. They're not trying to open any more of those 99 checkout lines that they have. They're bad at it. But they know if they hire more people to open those checkout lines, they have to raise their prices. So they've made a decision to be good in one area and really bad in another area. This means, guys, sometimes, and some of y'all are going to hate me for saying this, you've got to let the wrong customer walk away because trying to be everything to everybody is a recipe and the formula for failure. You're going to fail
Yeah.
because you're going to water down your business trying to chase everybody. This
That's
is what
right,
drives
Jason.
loyalty. People who shop at Walmart don't shop at Target unless they have to. Vice versa. People who shop at Target don't shop at Walmart. People who drink Coke don't drink Pepsi. If you stick to what you are good at, you'll find your tribe. Where most brands fail is not that they're designed wrong. They start watering down their brand in order to capture every customer that's out there, and you cannot be everything to everybody. If everybody didn't love Jesus, everybody's not going to love you.
Oh, hold on,
So,
Jason. We can't hear you. There you
can you hear me now?
go. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Mark, we'll go to the next slide. The R of brand is building the relationship with your customers. Mary hit on it earlier in the chat. And the idea is you want to not just build loyalty, but you want to build an emotional connection between your customers and your brand. You want to find out what makes them tick and connect your business to that idea. Because if I can make you emotional about something, I will also make you irrational about it. You'll spend more money to get it. You'll drive across town to get it. Uh, I'll take Kiyomi and Mark as an example. If she were to announce tonight that these butters were going to be on sale and we are putting them on the website, people will
Yes.
crash your website. It happened last time.
Yes.
Kiyomi saying
That
yes in
is
the
true.
background.
That is true. That is true.
She's built an emotional connection with her customers, and they're waiting on her to make the announcement. That's all it comes down to. The next
So, Jason,
idea,
I have a question. So,
go
with
ahead.
that, I do feel like most social impact brands, black owned businesses, it is this very emotional driven, culturally based relationship that we have. So, during the pandemic, one of the first immediate things that black owned businesses just had to pivot to is maybe not having that in-store experience, and you may be touching on this a little further along in your slides, so I apologize if I'm just jumping ahead, but my question is, how can a black owned business, mom and pop store transfer that energy or that culture to an online experience? Because during the pandemic, you're not able to have as many businesses, inside. How do you still capture? And then it still goes back to what you said earlier about capturing this 1.8 trillion, worth of dollars that are out there.
Yeah, it's going to look very differently depending on the type of business. And we had this conversation with Hustle and Grow that I talked about the idea of building a proper digital footprint for your customers. So for certain businesses, you need to have a popping website, and it may be not just having your product on there, it may be having videos on there, testimonials from other customers. Some of you need to build a social media presence where you can interact with your guests as they are going back and forth with your product. Some of you need to go a more traditional route. You may need, as things are starting to open back up, outside is starting to open back up, depending on where you are. Get out to some of these outdoor festivals or outdoor events and interact with your customers. It looks differently, but I think one thing that we do very well as Black people, that no matter what medium we show up, whether it's our music, whether it's our art, we have the ability to convey who we are. I think what's mostly missing from what I see from a lot of the businesses I consult with is that we're not intentional about conveying that culture. We water it down just to have a website or just to have social media. You have a social media page that nobody's posted on in 10 months. You have a website that is falling apart or that's hard to navigate. It looks different by business, but you have to be intentional about
Agree. Agree.
it. Mark, give me the next slide. The A of brand is agreement. Agreement is all about the relationship you have with the customer, back to that R, but it's also making sure that not just you're getting something out of the transaction, the customer has to get something out of it also. Because ultimately, guys, a brand is a promise. If I give you my money, I'm supposed to get a certain experience, a certain product, and you have to be very intentional about what the customer gets out of the experience. And a lot of businesses make that mistake that I'm so focusing on what I get that I don't care what you get. And that's where the bad customer service aspect comes in and people being off brand. Because it's just, hey, I have a restaurant and you ordered and I served you your food. But nobody looked at me and smiled. You didn't care if I had utensils. You didn't look to see that my glass was empty. You didn't talk to me after the food came. There was nothing else that came along with that experience. I'm gonna give a principle, and Mark, if you give me the next slide, it's gonna make some people mad. I call it the Beyonce syndrome. I almost hate to see Beyonce drop anything now, music, uh, clothing line, etc. The principle, guys, is people are not obligated to support you just because they are your friends. You having a business does not mean that your friends have to be your main group to support your business. And what we tend to do is we browbeat our friends and family to support our business because we don't have a vision of who is actually supposed to interact with our product or our business. If you have to shame people into supporting your business, you are already on the road to failure and you just don't know it yet. Um, it, it is the idea that if you stop posting these posts, Beyonce drops a tour. Y'all can support Beyonce, but you don't support me. The question is, are
Are
you
you
offering me
Beyonce?
right, Beyonce?
Yeah.
Listen, and Kill Me knows this. I'm a Beyonce fan. That's why I use her as an example. But last time that I went to a Beyonce concert, I was sitting And then the concert gets ready to start and the stage starts spinning. And the cube on the stage starts to spin. And then in the middle of the concert, like the stage breaks apart and Beyonce flies over my head. The question is, are you giving an experience that matches your expectation of customer support? And I think a lot of us aren't. We're going through the motions and then expecting people to bend over backwards to support us.
Sure.
The
Sure.
experience that you give should match the support that you expect. And here's where it becomes practical, guys. Um, do you know where your products are made? If you don't make your own products, do you know where they're made? Do you know what the quality of them are? Or do you know what goes into them? That speaks to the idea of what the experience that the customer is going to get. I know when I go to the Good Hair Shop, everything is handmade by Mark or Kiyomi. I know what goes into it. There are times where they don't have what I want and they will make it for me right then and explain the process as they're going on. Does your product match your process? Um,
Yeah.
an example I use, Kiyomi, is I like Gildan sweats. You know, they're comfortable. I can buy them at Walmart. Um, a Gildan shirt, I don't care what you put on it, what you stitch on it, how you make it, it's not worth $500.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
and as artists and as business owners, we have to step away from the idea that I am emotional about my business and get to the idea of the promise and the transaction behind it. Because your emotion will force you to push your customers away, adding value to something that does not actually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I see NZ say, a brand is a promise. That's what it comes down to, guys. It doesn't matter what brand is out there. Every brand that you see, whether it's the Golden Arches of McDonald's or the Good Hair Shop, there's a promise that comes along that with that. And if I
Yeah.
make the decision to give you my money, it's because I believe you're going to hold to your promise. What does your brand promise? That's a question every business owner needs to be able to answer. The end of brand is on the next slide. It's nature versus the personality and style of your business. What personality do you want to convey in your business? I told you before, the Good Hair Shop, and I'll use them as an example, they're unapologetically Black. There's nothing wrong with that. Other businesses are built to be part of the gentrification wave. I want to be part of the new wherever. In my community, it's Westview, the new Westview. I'm not building it for the Westview that is, I'm building it for the Westview that's coming. Some businesses want that socially conscious aspect. Some businesses want to be popular or the edgy hangout spot. You have to understand what your business is about and then commit to it 100%. And everything from your decor to your communication strategy to match whatever that personality is. Let me give you another principle here when it comes to nature, and it's that your help is going to come in the happening. And it's the next slide, Mark. You have to be unapologetically you. And this is going to ensure that your tribe doesn't pass you by when they see you. Too many businesses, kill me, and I want to drop an anchor here for a second, try to mimic success that they see in other businesses. So I don't know what you're about because you're always following a trend or trying to capture money somewhere. And I'll give an example. There is a business here not too far from my house. Every time I go in, it's supposed to be a restaurant, but I don't know that. Because sometimes they're a restaurant and sometimes they're a swap meet and sometimes they're a hangout spot and sometimes they're a coffee shop. And I don't know what you're about. And that makes me wonder when I'm getting ready to choose somewhere where I'm going, what you're going to give. And so there are many times I pass them by, not because they're not good at what they do in some aspects. I don't know what I'm going to get. And customers do not want surprises when it comes to their money, especially in this period.
Agreed.
The last
Agreed.
part of the, I'm sorry, Kim, what'd you
I
say?
said agreed. I don't want any surprises about my money. So agreed.
And I think sometimes we forget that as business owners that we only are looking through the aspect of I have something to sell and not that people are giving their money for this. And in this environment, It's very tough because money is hard to come by.
Sure.
Uh, People are working really hard for their money. They may have to save. So if it's a transaction, if I'm not getting what I'm supposed to be getting, I'll use what the kids say. It's not even giving what it's supposed to give. If if that's not happening, I'm not coming back to you no matter what
Yeah.
is going on.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
The last part of this, and then I'll pause because I know I've been talking, and people probably have some questions. Is the D of brand is being distinctive. What makes you stand
Say the
out
D.
from the crowd? And one more slide, Mark. What are your hallmarks? Yeah, I mentioned earlier, if you don't manufacture your product, do you know what's in it? What are the hallmarks of the customer experience? So if someone walks through your doors, how do you greet them? How do you bring them into the experience? How do you make them one? There are very few times when I walk into Kiyomi's shop that I don't spend money because she's having me smell stuff. She's having me try stuff out on my skin or my beard. And once I try it out, I am more likely in that environment to spend my money because I know how it makes me feel. I know how it smells. Kiyomi knows this years ago. What really hooked me on her product is she created this peppermint shea butter and this peppermint oil years ago. And I used to travel full time for work before the pandemic. And I was getting on a plane, and a group of old ladies accosted me. I mean, felt me all the way up because they said that I smelled so good. And that
Yes.
experience, number one, if old ladies love you, you got it. But I'm
That
like,
is
if old
true.
ladies got me, who else may have me? And I came back and I stocked up.
Yes.
That's the idea. It's distinctive. It sets you apart. Remember, it's all about the idea of the whole experience. You have to be distinctive in the marketplace. And if you're not distinctive, guys, you have to be honest about that. And this is where the ecosystem comes in. You should connect and join forces with other businesses that are similar to you to drive
Yeah.
down some costs, maybe in manufacturing, maybe in shipping, maybe in labor, maybe in your healthcare costs. This is where, when you're not distinctive, you connect in with other businesses in your ecosystem and join together with that collective idea.
And Jason, I think that also kind of goes back to I think in these times, if you're a business, I think what you were saying earlier about you
Kill me, I lost you.
how about now? Can you hear me now?
I got you. There you are.
Okay, I said I feel like it's a testament to kind of what you were sharing about earlier about a business trying to be everything to all people at all times. So you walk in one day they're doing this, one day you're doing another thing. We truly believe in the less is more. Like, what are you exceptionally great with? If I go into your restaurant or I go into your coffee shop, I don't think you necessarily have to have 30 choices of something, right? Like, what are the things that you absolutely excel in? And I also think that especially now during the pandemic, it also helps kind of reduce some of those costs because you're not having so much money go out by having so many things, on your list of offerings, or services. So I think that also kind of ties in with how you're able to provide these amazing, experiences, is really focusing on what are the things that you are absolutely the best about. What are the things that if you felt like you had to go onto some type of reality competition show, that you would feel that that is the best thing? And so what that may look like is, looking at trying to reduce or limit what your offerings are, so that you could just really make sure that you're exceeding the expectations, of your customers.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you look at any successful brand, whether it's a brand like a person like Tyler Perry, he's been very clear that he only wanted to make one play successful, and he
Sure.
felt like if he could do that, he would be good. If you look at Apple, Apple started out with a phone, and then they went to a tablet, and they still have very limited products for the size
Sure.
of company that they are. I don't know what the formula of success is, but the formula of failure is trying to be everything to everybody because you spread yourself so thin that you don't ever do any one thing very well. And what people are looking for when they spend their money is they're looking for excellence when I hand over my money. Whether it's
Sure.
excellence in you being quick about your product, McDonald's, whether it's excellence in the customer service that I'm going to get, Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to Starbucks, they have three coffees that they do, and they have three categories of drinks. They have a latte, they have a cappuccino, and they have a frappuccino. Everything else on their menu is a delineation of one of those four things:
Mm-hmm.
drip
Mm-hmm.
coffee, cappuccino, latte, or cappuccino. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's one of the key principles, Kim, because I think in this environment, particularly with the pandemic, it is easy to try to chase everything that's out there to be profitable.
Sure. Sure.
Choose one or two things that you want to be really good at, hone your skills around that, make sure you're an expert there. And what you can do is, number one, you're going to drive out the competition because of how good you are. And
Mm-hmm.
number
Mm-hmm.
two, that will draw people to you and other businesses to you that are good fits for your business.
Mm-hmm. 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 Agreed. Definitely agreed.
One of the and one of the things you can do, and Mark, if you give me the next slide, is the comic strip. What should guide this, guys, is what the customer actually wants. And this is a really big comic strip that says, the customer explains something, the project leader understands it a certain way, analysts design it, the programmer writes it. But at the end of the day, what the customer really needed was just a simple tire swing at the end of the day. What do your customers want? Have you even gotten into and built some analytics around your customers and their experience? So I work for a company that when we roll out, we are a brand of brands. And when we roll out other brands, I can give you a full company profile around the customer that we think is going to use that brand, down to what's in their refrigerator, what car they drive, where they shop, because it tells me what the experience inside of my sub brand needs to look like as we're designing it out.
Okay.
What are your analytics? You can use Google Analytics, and there are a bunch of ones that are out there, but how are you making the decision about what your customers want and make sure that you're molding your business to that? Or if you're stepping outside of what they want, making sure you're communicating why they need this product instead of what they ask
And Jason, can I jump in right there? A
for.
really great way to access those analytics, and still going back to that last session that you had, is businesses making sure that they are utilizing their website and those tools. Making sure that you're retaining that customer information. So when that customer comes in to do a transaction, there should be some type of point of entry where you're saving that data to be able to look at those trends of what's selling and what's not selling. I will tell you, there have been several times as a small business owner that I just knew this one particular product that we had was just, selling and was our big, top thing, revenue generating, type of product, just for Mark and I and the rest of the team to go look at those analytics and find out something completely different. And so from that, those analytics, and I hope some of the small business owners who are on here, look at your website, look at your POS system. If you don't have a POS system that you're recording, that information and retrieving that, this is the best time to learn that system, to onboard it. You cannot exist in the future without retaining that data so that you're able to really maximize, those choices. Gone are the days of just walking into a store, ringing something up and just, letting that be it. Or if you're kind of in the consultant freelance gig, sending that invoice out, having a person pay it, you should be retaining some of those analytics. And it's very easy. Most of the small business owners probably have a Wix or Squarespace, website. You can retain that data. There's a point of entry that you can have that information that you're able to retain it. So I think that's something that is so vital. And if you have not learned that during season 1 of the pandemic, you better jump on it right now.
Yeah, if you look at the big boys in the business arena, that's how they do it. If I were to whisper something about a particular product right now, Alexa is listening. My TV is listening, Facebook is listening, and you're going to see ads pop up around it. You're going to see this, be in my face. If I buy something at Macy's and I put it on my Macy's card, it's on my profile. And so when I come into the store, I will get coupons around that, or I'll get advertisements around that. You want to mold the experience to your customers. And like I said before, if you step outside of that, you need to be able to tell them why this new product is better or why they should go after it. And there are points where that's appropriate. I think Henry Ford said, when he was building the Model T, that if he gave people what they wanted, he would have built a faster horse. There is moments for innovation, but everything is not an innovative moment. Sometimes it's just being honest that, hey, I need to mold to you instead of the customer molding to us.
So I want to jump in. Ronnie says some great practical advice here. Ty Lawrence says running reports bi-monthly or quarterly help as well. It allows you to see peak seasons for specified products.
I agree 100% with Ty there. You want to have a cadence that you're pulling your data, and be able to look at a trend. So when it comes to my day job, I can, and even when I'm consulting, here with North Star, I can tell you the sales of the companies that I'm dealing with. I can tell you their customer satisfaction scores. I can pull that by day of the week. I can pull it by the quarter, by the year. I can tell you the businesses that I deal with, what is the day of the week that they should launch a promotion based on when their customers are looking at their website, looking at their social media, etc. That's the type of data that you want, because what it keeps doing is working harder rather than working smarter. The data will work for you if you allow it, instead of trying to mold it or make it do what you want it to do.
That's good.
Mark, if you give me the next slide, the, I'll say this, and the North Star principle here, guys, is that you don't always lack support. Sometimes your moment just has not come. Um, and if you will understand your customers and the data, you can be ready when they're ready for you. The quote that I have up there, and you see Lady Danbridge from Bridgerton there, and I love this quote. It's on my wall, and it simply says, "When you step into the light, be worthy of the attention that you command." We can all call the name of a brand that when their time came and when people were ready to dial in, the brand fell apart because they had not done the work on the front end before they became popular. The example, Kiyomi, that I'll give you is Zoom. Um, Everybody uses Zoom now. Most of you did not know what Zoom was last January. Um, and that was by design. Zoom was actually not designed to be used by everyday people like you and I. It was built to be used. The founder of Zoom came from a company called Cisco WebEx. WebEx is a video chat application that multinational and big businesses use, enterprise businesses use. And so when the pandemic hit, they were ready. And what they did was they were literally able to scale their business overnight to meet the demand. They went from around 10 million active users a day in December 2019 to over 300 to 400 million daily users
Wow.
in March of 2020. In that period, because they had built their business and were able to scale it when they were ready and when the light shone on them, they were worthy of the attention. Their server did not crash once. They had some glitches, but their system stayed up. Now, the analysts will tell you that they got up every morning and prayed that the system was still up because they didn't know what it would look like. But they were confident that they had done the right thing as they were
Sure.
going through.
Sure. So what you're saying is Zoom did the work, but not Instagram with that whole Teddy Riley, tobacco that we had with our
No, we
Insta
forget how
stories.
bad those versus battles were in the beginning. They got better, but it was rough. Kids, it was rough in those first couple of months.
It was. But that's a great example. That's a great example. So it makes me think like, as we are, looking at the rest of this year, as we're looking at, 2022, will you be ready when we're in a better space for people to really come back out, feel comfortable, shopping? will your business be ready to be able to receive that? Because I don't think you'll actually have that moment. Like, this is your moment now to be able to pivot, to be able to get all that data, to be able to really hone in. But when we are ready to go back outside, because I know I'm cutting all the way up when I'm able to go back outside for real, for real. Will your business be ready, right? And are you thinking about that? Have you created that plan? That's a really, really, really good point. As we're seeing this process, go by, like as a business owner, have you dreamed of or have that vision of 2022 and beyond, right? We already did a year in. It's like we all did a bid together, right? So we are already close to March. Q1 is pretty much here and done. So are you able to see what your business will look like when we're all able to go back outside, and will you be prepared? How will you keep that promise to your customers, right?
And that's the key point, because when we were together with Hustle and Grow last year, that's literally where we were talking. That if you are not scaling up and setting yourself up for success now, at that point, we talk about your digital footprint around your business, that you were going to be at a disadvantage as we started to come out of COVID. Uh, I'll let the analysts argue on if we're really coming out of COVID, but I can tell you what multinational companies are doing right now. What we're consulting about with them is the idea that when people are able to get vaccinated, that people like Hilmi and Jason are going to hit the streets and go ham. They have money that they have saved up. We've been stuck inside for a complete year, and people are going to look to spend money, get out of the house, and go. And are you prepared for that? So the question is, if your business were to go from 0 to 1,000 tomorrow, would you be prepared? Or would you not have the staff ready? Would your website crash? Would you not have anyone watching your social media? How
Sure.
prepared are you for success? And some of us prove by our day to day action that we're not ready for success in business because we're not paying attention to the small things day in and day out to prepare us for the future. Success is not something that just happens, it is an intentional act that you have to prepare for.
Yeah. Tina Lewis. Hey, Tina, thank you for joining us again for this session. She shared some of us may be pivoting to 100% digital. So we need to prepare for that also. And then we have Miss NZ. She says, seek support or technical assistance now towards the reopening of outside. Such a great point.
Yeah, 100%. I think both of them are definitely right. Tina, when she says, pivoting. And what I would say is don't fall into the trap as business owners of thinking that you have to go 100% digital. Because there will be a segment of customers that will want that in person interaction going forward. And that may be the differentiating factor as we get into the summer or into the fall. Most businesses having gone 100% digital and customers seeking out that in-person human experience. Um, and so look for, again, who are your customers and what do they want? Start surveying them now. Asking, you can do it informally by a survey monkey survey. You can do it by full analytics around who your customers are and the demographics that they are in order to find that information and buy the data, basically in some other areas. And NZ is correct that you want to look for the opportunity to partner up. She only knows this technology is not really my thing. If I don't know that I am old, I know that I'm old when I'm dealing with technology because it's not my thing. It's not the area that I excel. I'm honest about that stuff. And so when I set up my setup and when I'm doing certain things, I pull on some people. I partnered with a student from Morehouse College who is a pure Generation Z member. He does everything digital, and so he helps me in some of these areas. He helps set up my Snapchat page because I didn't get it, and set me up. Partner with someone that is an expert in that area. It could be someone who's already doing well in that arena in business. Mentorship is really big, and Kiyomi and you and Mark do this very well. You mentor other businesses. What I have seen though with some of the businesses that y'all try to mentor is people are not willing to put down their ego long enough to say, I don't know how to do.
Yeah, I agree. I
If you're
agree.
going to be a business owner, you have to be able to admit that you don't know so that you can get that proper help when it comes.
Sure. Sure, absolutely, 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 absolutely. And I think I will also back to even Tina's point about this digital space. The need is right now. I could definitely say during season 17 of this panoramic, I have consumed way too many things, online. I feel like every day there's collectively my household. Everybody is hitting add to cart to something. Something is being delivered, on a daily basis. So even during these times, I'd really be curious for businesses who do have, that e-commerce, option. What are your analytics looking like? This from the pandemic this time versus what it was prior to that. Because I do feel like even on the consumer end, I have hit add to cart way too many times, but also my add to cart option is always driven towards that business who has created that narrative. I do, for me as a particular consumer, and everyone, is different. I am the consumer that it does. I'm going to kind of add to cart quicker based on your mission. If you are community centered, if you're making the social impact, if you are, a black-owned business, then I'll go down to the rest of the acronym of the IPOC for the BIPOC. But I want to hear what your story is. And during this time, I have been able to discover lots of great brands across the country. And so I think definitely this is a time that you still want to make sure that you're offering those services up. If you are a person who makes things, consider, doing some pre-orders, of some of your things. Really look at that supply, inventory, and demand. Be very mindful of the shipping. Trump is out, but we still haven't, the post office ain't been right since. And so you want to be able to look at, determining what your true policies are. And I think we always fell on the principle of you want to make sure that you are doing that. What is it? Under promise and over deliver, right? And how can you do that? And then also just keep the narrative going. I know this was our first time really experiencing the challenges of the post office, and so making sure that we were keeping up to date and then adjusting what our shipping times were based on that. But I think that this is definitely the time to really make sure that you are, if you have some things online, you should have no excuse to making sure that you have done that pivot and also increasing the sales. Miss Tina said the same brand principles apply. Right, yes. So everything that we're talking about, which goes back to having that, transferring that cultural experience of your brand online, on your website. If the website is not your strength, you could always pick up your phone, Insta Story. You could always go live, Facebook Live. There are so many tools. If you are a chef and you have some products there, it is nothing for you to set your phone up and cook right there on live, and driving people, to your site or for those practices. So I think as a business, it just still goes back to what is the mission, what is the culture, of your business? How do you have that online and in store? And then how do you prepare for even the new outside? Because when we are able to go back outside, it's still going to be different when we go back outside, right?
Yeah, I think that you, and that's why I talked about that brand personality earlier. You want to know what your personality is and then tell your story. And be unapologetic about that, how you do it. If you look at the Food Network, a lot of those chefs that are famous now, how they started was cooking their food on social media or showing up somewhere where people were going to find them and they sought them out.
Sure.
I'll use a lot of people, rave around Pinky Cole and Slutty Vegan. She had a viral food truck that people would seek out. And then she built an experience, honestly, around sex. She has people in line hollering out, I'm a slut, and people being okay with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's her story. Are you unapologetic about her story? And what she says is if you don't like her story, there are plenty of other restaurants that are out there. Are you confident enough in your story and your business to allow people to walk away? And I think that that's the difference between success and failure for a lot of businesses, in that we don't want to stand up in who we actually are. We want to, if you don't like it, I'll water it down. Strike while the iron is hot right now. If you are unapologetically black, if you are unapologetically a woman, if you're unapologetically gay, put that out there in your story. There are corporate entities that will fund you. There are people that will seek you out just because of that. Um,
Sure.
Build your entire business, your entire brand off of that idea, and then broaden as you choose to going forward. But there's nothing wrong with putting your story out there because someone, again, your tribe is going to find you if you tell your story properly. They may not be able to find you right now because they don't know what you stand for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and you hit on the really practical aspects of it. Ideas like shipping, knowing the post office is a mess, and things like that, telling the truth to your customers.
Sure.
So the relationship part is not just, I want to sell you something. I'm going to follow you through the entire process and make sure you have everything that you need. And some of that is, and I ordered from a brand the other weekend, and they were very honest. They said it's going to be at least a month before you get it. We will ship it, but because of shipping and the post office, it is taking this long for it to get to you. You know what? I wanted it the next day because I've gotten used to Amazon Prime. But the truth is, I'm willing to wait for it because they told me the
Sure.
truth. I'm
Sure.
not
Sure.
waiting on it. I know when it's coming.
Sure. And so, Jason, can I ask you a question? So, how can a small business owner, who maybe has probably is working on a very limited staff right now, how can a small business owner make sure that the culture or the mission of their business is actually conveyed with their staff, with their team, so that the customer's experience and what a team member, community member, and what the mission is all meshed together?
Number one, you have to train around it. And you have to be intentional about it. The very first thing that I do in my company is that you have to come and you have to do what I call indoctrination, really. I'm going to teach you what the brand is about. I'm going to teach you how to speak the brand language. I'm going to teach you about the hallmarks and how your part brings that to life. You want to replicate you. What most business owners are is you are passionate about your business and your product and your brand. Where most businesses fail is that we don't convey that same passion to the people that work for us. So if I come to Kiyomi, I get one experience, but then when Jason is working at Kiyomi shop, I get a completely different experience. That level of inconsistency is a brand killer. And if you need to be able to test that, uh, when I'm working in certain arenas, I have ways to test it. I'll have my friends go in. They know me, and they know when Jason shows up, he's going to be looking at a certain thing. They don't know my best friends, and so I'll send them in to test it for me. And Tina Lewis says it, and that is the corporate word for it. It's culture.
Mm-hmm.
And the same as we have culture as a people. And no matter who you are or where you come from, there are certain things that you find in our culture and certain ribbons that flow through. The same thing should happen in your business. That no matter who I'm dealing with, no matter the time of day that I come into your business, whether it's first thing in the morning or 10 minutes before you close, I should get the exact same experience because culture should be the same no matter what time I come in or what location I show up at.
And I think,
And for
Jason, one of the two big, I think, for a national example that we share, even when we're talking to folks, we have Publix. We're shopping as a pleasure. Now, dip with a little bit of racism. Now, right?
right.
Publix is really serious about the culture of the staff, from the associates, from the person who is stocking things, right? I go also back to Chick-fil-A, great waffle fries, again dip with a little bit of racism, homophobia, right? Chick-fil-A, it is ingrained in they want to know what is it with the Chick-fil-A. I can't even remember. It's been a long since I've been there, but there was a saying that Chick-fil-A would always have to their customers just to make sure they had everything. What else could I do for you? And I think it kind of also goes back to the being unapologetic about it. Even with your staff and team members, you have to be able to convey this is what the culture is of our space and this community in here. If you are about this life, great, but if not, this might not be the best space. But I feel like there's a very cohesiveness between every Publix you may go into, every Chick-fil-A you may go to. It is just the same across board. So I know one of the challenges for small business owners is because you started this vision, it's your baby, you really love, whatever your business or your concept is, but it is trying to instill that culture with your team. And then now during the pandemic, having that very limited staff that you may have. So I think that's definitely one of the things. And I think Ty says when looking to add staff, it's important that employees core matches your culture and mission. And I definitely agree. One example we have back in my olden days when I was a hairstylist, we had a natural hair salon. We had made the decision that we were a heat-free salon. That meant that we were not pressing hair. There were no flat irons in it. That's just what our mantra was. So as new stylists wanted to come into our space, and they would kind of bring in, the curling irons, the ceramic irons. As a company, we had to really reinforce that. And there were things that I was just like, did you not hear what we said in the interview? Like, it's all over heat-free hairstyling. So I think you have to be okay with, and back to what Ty's point is, your staff has to match your core values. And I think it comes up very soon. For me, one of the things I always look at when we're interviewing potential staff is a person who smiles when they talk, because you can't teach a smile, right? I don't care what it is. You cannot teach a smile. And that's something that's very important for the culture in our space, is that we want culture, community, and one of those things to connect with the person is by smiling.
Yeah, I think that, and you hit a key point there, Kiyomi, is that the goal, and Ty also said it, if I can hire you, that would be the most amazing thing. And the way that you do your hiring is that blueprint that I talked about at the very beginning
Sure,
around
sure,
your
sure.
experience. That becomes part of this. That if you can't match this blueprint of the experience that I want to give, you may not be the best person here. That means that you're a bad person. You're bad for my business. The other side of that is I am a firm believer. Now, I am a professional corporate trainer by trade and strategist. And so this is my view. I believe I can train anybody to deliver great customer service. If I give you the right tools, if I give you the right mantra, if I show you what it looks like, I can teach anybody. Now, is everyone going to latch onto it? The answer is no. And the example that I given you gave it is Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, whether you go on Cascade or whether you go to Buckhead, you're going to get a my pleasure experience. There's some hiccups now, every now and then, but
We Vine City,
they
but we're gonna keep going.
listen. We're gonna keep moving because I was about to call them too.
And Chick-fil-A on Morehouse's campus. We'll keep going.
Lord Jesus, you know. But you, those principles then become what you hold people accountable for. This is what it looks like in our business, and how we do it. And I give you tangible that you can work through to get from point A to point B, so you know what it looks like. It is about the culture, but breaking down the culture to tangible steps for that employee so they know. For you, it's the smile. That is a huge part. And what I would call that in my business, Kilme, is I would say it's a service hallmark that you're delivering a service hallmark, and in your case it is the smile. For other people it may be the language that they use, it may be the way that they speak to someone, it may be how they sell the product. You've got to, as part of that blueprint, decide what that looks like and then convey that over.
And then I think for businesses that are in this digital space, making sure that that same message is consistent on your website, as well, right? One
Yes.
thing that's kind of popped into my head, during the pandemic, people being in digital spaces, most websites offer a chat option. So, as a small business owner, you could actually connect that directly, to whichever platform, phone, text message, where you have the opportunity to incorporate a customer going into your website, having some conversation with you, and you being able to interact directly with that customer.
Mhm. And I'll use here's an example, Kiyomi, that I'll give you around that. And this is where putting down your ego and connecting others. So there is a restaurant on Cascade Avenue that opened about right before the pandemic. It was a little over a year ago, about a year and a half ago. There was an older restaurant literally a block away. I went to the newer restaurant and had a horrific service experience to the point that I got up and went to the older restaurant. I was hungry, wanted something, and the lady behind the bar asked me. She took my food order. She was amazing, and she asked me what brought me in, and I told her, and she said, "Yeah, I've offered my services to them down the road because I know this community. I grew up here. I've worked here my entire life. I can tell you who's coming by day of the week and all of that." And I gave them that information. Uh, she literally said, she had the ability to do it in person. She said they knew everything and they wouldn't listen. And so you got to look for how you convey that experience in every aspect, whether it's in person, whether it is online, whether it's on social media. The feeling has to come through because the first way that someone will walk away from your business is to have a bad experience. It literally, in this environment, only takes one. If
Yeah.
someone has one bad experience, whether it's digital, whether it's in person, whatever it looks like, they will walk away and they will find someone else that does what you do
Sure.
in a similar way.
Sure.
Are
And I
you
think
setting
that's
yourself up?
very, yeah, and I think that's also so very true even with small businesses, but especially black owned businesses. It's unfortunate, that it happens, but we don't get that space, we don't get that grace to be able to have that mistake. We've even, taken the time to even try and educate our customers where I always share, give us the opportunity to get it right. We may not get it right, all the time, but give us an opportunity if a mistake happens. But we've had those experiences where, as a smaller business, as a black-owned business, we've had customers that, unfortunately, if there was that one mistake, and I think you had shared it earlier because it goes back to the subjective part about what good customer service is, where we have seen, I literally remember we had a very long-term customer that shopped with us for years, and there was a little bit of a hiccup with shipping with the post office. And when the customer actually got their package, the package was very damaged, like very, very damaged. And that customer was very upset. We talked about how we could kind of get it right. And that customer just, flat out decided that we were not a good business, but not a good relationship, to be on. But as a business owner, we just had to be okay that was just that, that customer just wasn't ours. But I think in this space and in these times, I think even customers are just really looking at culturally just what is happening. Like, we have no control over that shipping part, but it still gives you time to be able to really hone in on those skills, really understand what your processes are to know what is realistic and what is not during these times, and to be able to grow on that. And to be able to grow on that.
The key point that you said, what hit me, was that you had communication with your customers, even after that purchase had happened. One of the mistakes that a lot of businesses make is you stop communicating with your customer when the transaction is over. That's when you should ramp up communication because you want to know what their experience looked like, make sure it was okay, and drive loyalty from that point going forward. There is always more opportunity to expand. One sale is the beginning. The question is, who did you tell about it? I told you the old ladies that felt me up on the plane. They want to know where they got the product. I know they came to the website, Kiyomi,
Sure.
and all of
Yes.
that because I told them about it and I was
Yeah.
passionate about it. And when people ask me, where do you get your products and what do you do? I have this local spot that's down the street from my house in my neighborhood, black owned. They are all about black people. They are the gathering spot for my community. They take care of us even when they don't, and it's to their own detriment. And when I finish telling my story and experience, then it speaks to how people want to interact and connect in. Are you continuing that conversation? And that's the idea of marketing and how we continue to market beyond just what's happening this one moment. Marketing is not just about getting you into my store or to my website or to my social media page. It's following you all the way through the experience to replicate you as a customer and create more customers outside of that.
Agreed, agreed, agreed. Jason, so then my next question would be, as we're looking at, creating this brand story, and like, looking at, the feed, the people who are commenting and recognizing some of those businesses that are there, what can a small business owner, or what steps can a small business owner use to be able to really craft that brand? So they're breaking down the B, the R, and the A, from North Star. And I know a lot of the businesses, on here are doing, just so much, with their brand. They're very community driven. How can they really hone in on breaking down, those components of their brand story?
Yeah, and if Mark will give me the next slide, you're right where I built it into the slide, Keone. It's the marketing architecture of telling the story and breaking it down. And the idea is there are a couple of steps here. And Mark, if you give me the next slide, you want to find who your customer is, you want to contact them, you want to allow them to buy, you want them to use your product, and then you want to have an ending to it. So let me give you these quick steps, Kiyomi, and then I'm gonna come back and wrap it up there. Mark, if you give me the next slide, who is your target customer? You want to know how you're going to find them. Again, create that guest data profile. What marketing fits them, and connect with other open-minded businesses that fit your profile, whether you do ads together, profiles, or social media campaigns. Also look for opportunities to go viral. Drop word of mouth, because at the end of the day, and you see it in the chat, Mary wants to know, hey, drop the link. She's in Jersey. Drop the link to the Good Hair
Yes.
Shop, all based on my passion and how I'm talking about it. Um, that's really what you're looking for when it comes to customers. You want to find them. Mark, if you give me the next slide, then you want to contact them. Again, communication is key. Those 5 W's and H: who, what, when, where, and why, and then the how. Whether it's the web page, whether you're on location with them, whether it's social media, and then to the point that Kiyomi said, you want to have that follow up, knowing what their experience looks like on the back end. So if there's something you need to fix, you can fix it. And if it was right, then you can continue to sell to them. The next step is to buy. Are you easy to do business with? And Kiyomi hit this earlier, and I really wanted to bring this out. Is do you know your PMS system? Are you using payment card industry correctly? Are you taking care of people's digital footprint when they're doing business with you? Are you doing timely invoicing? Because the easiest way to make someone walk away from you is to fill my card up online or to come to your store, and then I can't swipe my credit card, or I can't check out. And it takes 20 minutes to figure out how to do that. If I get frustrated in the process, I may walk away. And so you want to know your own system. The next step:
Yeah.
allow people to use the product. Marketing doesn't end at the find stage. So look for events as we get to go outside again. Kiyomi and Mark are good about this. The packaging that you use, it says Good Hair Shop on everything, from the bag they put it in, the tissue paper that surrounds what the product is. They're doing all of this. And then you want to continue to advertise it. So as you're going through, you want to continue to advertise with the customer. And then the final thing that you want to do is end with them. The end is just the beginning. You have to look at, from a customer service and a marketing standpoint, that the end is just the beginning. There are next steps after that. So you want to track the customer experience. You want to look for what makes that customer tick and drive loyalty. Did I come to you because I happen to be in the area, or did I seek you out because of your mission? Connect to people via social media, and then look at the opportunity to drive word of mouth with those customers. It seems, and they're, those are 5 quick steps, Kiyomi, but you really have to dive in there, because it has to be customer centric when it comes to the experience. And I think that's where a lot of businesses make the mistake, is that we are guest, or we're business centric rather than being customer centric. And it goes back to even how we train our team members, that customers are not just the people buying our products. We have internal customers also, the people who are selling your product. So how are you replicating these steps with your staff, so that businesses are dropping this down as they're going through? And Mark, this is a video. We don't have to play it right now because we've had a really good conversation. But what I would say is, go on YouTube and look up "Social Media Revolution." It gives you some stats around using social media, some small things like that humans now in 2021 have a shorter attention span than a goldfish. So if you can't tell me what
Wow.
you want in about 15 to 30 seconds, you're going to lose me. If you can't capture my imagination in that short of a time, you're going to lose me. Um, that how we interact with each other, not just from how much buying power that is out there, but also looking for the opportunity of how we leverage people in these social space.
And Jason, um, all of that, this is great. One thing that you just shared that has never even popped into my head is cooperatively sharing the cost of ads. That is a challenge that I hear a lot of small businesses, are experiencing. How are they able to actually get their ads out there, pay for their ads. So I think that is an excellent idea. Think of another business that has a similar product, similar culture, similar customer service, all of those things, right?
That
And
blueprint
to
is
be able
key
to
here.
look at,
Yeah,
that whole ecosystem of generating, an ad and doing a larger ad buy, whether it be, through Google, whether it be through Facebook, whether it be like a billboard. So I know for a lot of small businesses, the actual cost of marketing, the cost of generating these ads is just something that it does present a challenge. And so I think that is an excellent idea to be able to think of who else you could partner with to be able to, share that cost and to do it in a cooperative way. One thing that just kind of popped into my head, this is March, Q1 is done, but I would be thinking about, what other businesses you could partner with to already be ready, for your ad buys, for Juneteenth that was coming up. Remember
there
last
you go.
year, everybody discovered black folks wanted to shop black. So how do you kind of keep that energy going? And so I think that'd be an amazing thing, which I'm probably going to practice with Mark and some other businesses that we know, because that's one thing that we've actually have never done is think about collectively, purchasing, some ads. I think that is targeted and just right on.
Yeah, I think that you want to get creative right now. Think outside of the box. And one of the easiest ways to get creative, Kiyomi, is as businesses, we got to stop going it alone. Um, you see multinational brands co-brand and go in together. That if I am, having a major burger chain, they're showing Coke and Pepsi, and they're co-branding in those moments. The reason we don't do it in our community comes down to ego. I think that I have to be the only one that succeeds instead of building a cooperative in a way where we're all succeeding and our businesses begin to flow in and feed off of each other. So if I am, the good hair shop and I do products, I may connect with a certain group of salons or a certain influencer around hair in order to do some of my marketing. If I am a restaurant in the area, I may connect in with the other Black owned restaurants in my area and say, hey, let's do a Southwest Atlanta marketing campaign. Bringing people, because if you discover my restaurant and I'm right next door to you, yeah, you came to me for brunch, but you may come back tomorrow for lunch or for dinner,
Absolutely.
or you may order takeout. And so looking for the opportunity, again, that blueprint is important. You're not connecting with just everybody. Everybody's down to you is not a good fit for you, but looking for the opportunity of where it can there be synergy between our businesses and where we can share some of this cost. Juneteenth is coming up. Looking at the summer travel season, that will happen because there are a group of people doing it right now in the middle of a pandemic. When it gets warm, they gonna really hit the streets. And the rest of us who have been, I booked a trip, and Kiyomi knows this. I have been inside since last March. I have chronic asthma. I stay inside. I booked a trip for October. A friend is getting married in Jamaica. I'm going. I'm going to
Nice.
sun myself on the beach with all this COVID weight. If you see the pictures, you know, but people are looking to get out. Are you going to be ready for them when they do?
Yeah.
And how are you putting down your ego to make sure that you're all winning? It may not be the right marketing campaign for you now, but can you support somebody else's so when it is your turn, that you don't have to replicate or recreate the wheel and start over?
I think that's just good. Like that definitely is an amazing aha moment, right now. And again, just being in that space, being able to receive information. I think that is just an additional tool that a lot of the business owners, that are watching tonight, a lot of businesses that will be watching this, in the future, to be able to consider that, because that's always one of the biggest challenges that we hear, specifically for, black-owned businesses. There's a digital divide. There is, just everything, just cost, right? And so I think that is something that, instead of complaining that, oh, I can't afford this, looking at who do you have, who is already in your ecosystem, to be able to get that out there. I just think that's just a phenomenal idea. And I'll be following up with North Star to kind of see how I can make that, happen collectively. One of the other things I kind of wanted to share, how does a small business look into, North Star, to be able to see how they could spell out BRAND, how they could make that happen, for their brand?
Listen, you can hit me up at jason at seekthestar.com. You can go to the website, seekthestar.com. You can connect to us on social media. If you look up North Star Consulting on Instagram or on Facebook, it will connect you directly to me. I am in a period of rebranding myself. We took some time off because of the pandemic, to look at what were going to be the skills that are needed for businesses. If I'm going to be your strategist, I have to be up on my game also. And so we're just now getting into the point of looking back at taking on some more clients and going in. If I'm not ready to do everything for you, I'll be glad to give you some advice and to help you along the way until we're ready. I practice the principles that I ask my businesses to practice, because at the end of the day, we're all growing, we're all learning together. And that's where the benefit comes, is that you're going to get the most up-to-date information, because I am looking at honing my skill. You see my cohort members from my MBA program were on the chat tonight. We're all in together. And as I am bouncing ideas off of you and learning, I am also bouncing ideas off of them and learning from their ends of businesses, of what's going on their segments, in their parts of the business world, or what the things that I need to be preparing businesses for going forward look like.
And I think that's great. I just want to, talk about being connected. I just got my alert on my watch of visitors on our website from New Jersey. I think that's our friend right there, the good Mary. So staying
Hey,
connected, shout
Mary.
out to that. Also, I just want to say all of this information is great. I know as small business owners, we do feel overwhelmed, as, we're doing, experiencing this in real time. I would really, really, really encourage you all to be able to go back and really look at these slides. Jason offered some amazing content, for us tonight. And I think when we're talking about your principles, you've mentioned the principles of North Star, several times in this conversation. So that means for you as your brand, you have developed these principles. They are non-negotiable.
Yep. Kill me, I lost you.
Unclear, if you are unclear of what is your mission, what drives your business, what is the culture, of your business, it is no better time than like the present. I think how Jason really broke down and some of the and how does it relevant, to your business. And we're okay if that is something that you have never done. We really encourage you all to leave some of those, your questions, in the comments. But I think this is the time for you to really get to know your business and to really understand how authentic you are, and just what are your, your non-negotiables. I think we have a few more slides, Jason. We can just head on over to those.
I have one more, and it's my customer service principles. And they definitely loop in with what we've already talked about. Number one, from a customer service standpoint, guys, identify your touch points around customer service, whether it's the awareness touch point, whether it's when someone walks through the door, goes to your website. What does that look like? Number two, know your customers. And then, based on what you know about your customers, you want to humanize the experience for them.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
remember, you're not dealing with data points, and you're at the end of the day not dealing with transactions. You're dealing with people, and so if you can connect with people, it is lightning in the bottle. uh, Apple is successful because it makes their fans, and they are their fans, fanatical about their products. Apple hadn't released a real new phone since Steve Jobs died. People still line up for the same phone over and over and over again. um, Fourth is to finish strong and leave an impression. We're usually good about good first impressions, guys, but then we let the experience wane as someone goes through our business cycle, and we don't give the same at the end that we gave at the beginning. Think, well, they've already paid for it, I'm done. That is the biggest mistake you can do because it kills loyalty. And the fifth thing, guys, when it comes to great customer service, is to be consistent. Um, Learning is good, growing is good, but if you are not ready to be consistent and give a consistent experience every guest, every time they walk through the door, you're not ready yet. And to take some more time to build. So those are my customer service principles. Again, nothing brand new there. It loops in with what we've already talked about, but it's something that people need to keep in mind as you're going through.
And I love these customer. Oh, I just love these customer service principles. That number two, we're gonna say that over and over and over and over and over again to know your customers. Also, that humanize, the experience, and so that it's not just a transaction. I think what has been kind of successful with some of the businesses that you mentioned earlier, Apple, the sorts, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that, I always say, once you go Mac, you never go back, right? It is just a lifestyle for those brands. And I think as small business owners, we have that time right now to be able to capture that. And so I just encourage everyone to don't take this information lightly. I want to be able to see you all take this information. I want you all to tag the Connect when you have either updated the brand. And then I will be dropping a survey in the comments because we do want to stay connected to the businesses that are here. We want to learn what more do you want from Jason? What more do you want from Brother Ronnie that was in our first session? But we are spending the time as we're developing our cooperative. I see a lot of new faces that are on here, but our business has evolved into this community development in our neighborhood that we will actually be supporting several businesses in a shared cooperative space. And so we want to know what is the information that you all need. And we're doing things in a cooperative way, and we're doing things in a very customer service driven way. So the reason that this session was important, and I'm going to go back to Ty's, I think her comment is knowing what the culture is. So as our other business, the Connect Cooperative, is looking at growing our membership or launching the members of the cooperative and bringing businesses in. Customer service, excellent customer service, Black excellence is a non-negotiable for us. And so we want to make sure that we're going to spend some time very intentionally on customer service. So that way, when we have the conversations about culture and what's important to us, as Jason shared earlier, we're actually providing the tools and the resources so that when we're sitting down and having a conversation about your business, being a member, of this space, resources have been shared. You're aware of what the culture is and what our core beliefs are. So that's why this is important. This won't be the last time you see Jason. Jason has some phenomenal training services. So the reason that you all saw him last year, the reason that we brought him back on this year, and we will continue to bring him on because we are so passionate about just Black excellence. And we do know that before you grow a cooperative, before we're gonna have this conversation about community wealth building, we have to hone in on the principles, the mission of our business, and some customer service. I am a believer that anything that I need, somebody black makes it. I am a believer that the most best service that I could get is from black folks. And so, but we just want to be intentional about the skills and the resources that we're sharing. So we encourage you all to be able to leave comments if you do have some questions. Jason is here before he has to get off and jump on probably 5 other phone calls, homework, president of our NPU. He is busy, 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 but we encourage you all to be able to leave some comments. And in the meantime, head over to all of Jason's social media handles. Jason, will you leave your social media handles, website in the comments?
Or they're right there on the screen. Thanks, Mark. So Facebook at Seek the Star, IG North underscore star underscore consulting. You can also find me personally on Facebook, Jason Cantrell Hudgins on Facebook, or on Twitter, Jason Hudgins 82 at Jason Hudgins 82. I'll be glad to interact with you guys. Just like Kiyomi and Mark, it is always a privilege to be with y'all. And like Kiyomi said, somebody black does it. We just got to make sure that we're doing it the right way.
Nice, nice, nice. So before we close, you all, next week we will have all of the great legal conversation. We got our good comrade, Brother Kamal Franklin from Community Movement Builders, who is an attorney. He will be here next week to answer all of your questions about what can you do or how can you legally set up a cooperative if you have an existing business, how you may be wanting to pivot. So we will post that. Next week's session will be on a Wednesday, so just be mindful of that. And we really encourage you all to be able to share your comments or your feedback. I will be adding the survey link to be able to take that survey. But before we head out, Jason, I'm gonna let you close us out. Would you like to have some closing words?
Listen, guys, it's a tough environment, but I am a firm believer. I said this on the Facebook page the other day that the business juggernauts of the 21st century are going to be born out of this period. Build your business, connect together, um, do some research and some history. Look back at the 1917 Spanish flu pandemic and see what business looked like after that. And it will encourage you that if you do the right thing right now, you're going to be just fine. I promise you. And Kiyomi, Mark, and I are going to be here to help make you a success. We're going to do our part to support you. So keep the faith, keep going forward.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Our Open for Good business is actually supported and brought to you by the Annie Casey Foundation. I did not mention that last week, but we are so happy to have them be in partnership with us. It is also presented by 3C Collective and the Connect. Make sure you're following those pages. We humbly, humbly, humbly thank you all for joining us. We know that you all have been on Zoom University all day, helping the kids out all day. Everybody is stuck to a laptop. So we really are honored that at the end of the day, when you could be resting, doing some other things, that you guys are tuning in. Let us know what else that you all would like to see. And until then, we will see you all next week, Wednesday.